Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, how did we get here? Not just you in your bathroom, but us? Humanity. It's a wild story, a multi-million-year epic, and today we're going to speed run through the greatest hits of human evolution. Forget dusty textbooks, this is the blockbuster version. Our story starts way back, maybe 6 or 7 million years ago in Africa. The world was changing, forests were shrinking, and grasslands were expanding. This is where our family tree branches off from the ancestors we share with chimpanzees. We didn't just wake up one day and decide to walk on 2 legs. It was a gradual process, driven by the need to see over tall grass, carry food, and travel more efficiently. Imagine our earliest ancestors like Sahelanthropus peeking over the savanna, taking those first wobbly upright steps. It was the beginning of everything. Fast forward a few million years, and we meet the Australopithecines. You've probably heard of Lucy, the famous Australopithecus afarensis skeleton. She and her kind were small, maybe about 3.5 feet tall, but they were trailblazers. They were fully bipedal, meaning they walked on 2 legs just like us. Their brains were still relatively small, about the size of a modern chimpanzee's, but walking upright freed up their hands. And what do you do with free hands? You start experimenting, you start making things. This leads us to the next major leap. The genus Homo, our direct lineage. Around 2.5 million years ago, Homo habilis, which literally means handyman, shows up. And they earned that name. They were the first to consistently create and use stone tools. This wasn't just banging rocks together. They were deliberately chipping stones to create sharp edges for cutting meat and breaking bones to get to the nutritious marrow inside. This was a game changer. Access to more protein and fat meant more fuel for a very hungry organ, the brain. Our brains started getting bigger, and with that came more complex behaviors. Enter Homo erectus, upright man, who appeared about 2 million years ago. These guys were true adventurers. They were taller, more human-like in proportion, and had significantly larger brains than their predecessors. Homo erectus was the first of our ancestors to control fire. Think about that for a second. Fire meant warmth, protection from predators, a social gathering spot, and most importantly, cooked food. Cooking unlocks nutrients and kills parasites, making food safer and easier to digest. This dietary revolution likely fueled another massive brain growth spurt. And with these new skills, Homo erectus became the first hominin to leave Africa, spreading across Asia and Europe. They were the original world travelers. Now the plot thickens. The world gets a bit more crowded with different human species coexisting. In Europe and Asia, we have the Neanderthals. Pop culture paints them as dumb cavemen, but that's completely wrong. Neanderthals were incredibly intelligent and adapted to cold climates. They were skilled hunters, made complex tools, cared for their sick and elderly, buried their dead, and possibly even had some form of art and language. They had brains that were, on average, even slightly larger than ours today. They weren't a failed experiment. They were a successful, parallel branch of humanity that thrived for hundreds of thousands of years. Meanwhile, back in Africa, something special was brewing. Around 300,000 years ago, our own species, Homo sapiens, wise man, made its debut. Early Homo sapiens looked a lot like us. Anatomically, we were there. But for a long time, our behavior wasn't all that different from other hominins. Then, somewhere around 70,000 to 50,000 years ago, the cognitive revolution happened. We started creating complex art, intricate jewelry, sophisticated tools from bone and antler, and long-distance trade networks. What changed? The leading theory is a development in our brains that allowed for complex, symbolic language. This new ability to communicate abstract ideas about the past, the future, things that don't even exist, was our superpower. It allowed for unprecedented cooperation in large groups, the sharing of knowledge across generations, and the creation of shared myths and beliefs that bind societies together. Armed with this new cognitive toolkit, Homo sapiens began their own great migration out of Africa. And this is where the story gets really interesting. As we spread across the globe, we met our ancient cousins, like the Neanderthals in Europe and Asia, and another group called the Denisovans in Asia. And we didn't just say hello, we interbred. That's right. If your ancestry is from outside of Africa, you likely have a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA in your genome. Some populations in Asia and Oceania also carry Denisovan DNA. These ancient encounters weren't just a footnote. The DNA we inherited from them may have helped our ancestors adapt to new environments, affecting things like our immune systems and how our bodies handle different altitudes. We are, in a very real sense, a hybrid species, carrying the ghosts of other humanities within us. As Homo sapiens expanded, other human species gradually disappeared. Why? It's one of evolution's biggest mysteries. Was it direct conflict? Competition for resources? Did we simply out-reproduce them? Or did they get absorbed into our much larger population? It was likely a combination of all these factors. The last Neanderthals vanished around 40,000 years ago, leaving Homo sapiens as the last human species standing on planet Earth. From there, our story accelerates at a dizzying pace. We colonized every continent, invented agriculture, built cities, created writing, developed science, and walked on the moon. All of that, the entire history of civilization, is just a tiny sliver of our species' timeline. For most of our existence, we were nomadic hunter-gatherers, living in small bands, deeply connected to the natural world. So, when you look in the mirror now, what do you see? You're looking at the end result of millions of years of struggle, adaptation, and innovation. You carry the legacy of ancestors who learned to walk upright, who tamed fire, who crossed continents. You have the brain that was built on a diet of cooked food and the social cooperation of your tribe. You carry the DNA of ancient relatives and the spark of the cognitive revolution that allowed us to imagine, create, and build the world we live in today. It's a humbling and awe-inspiring story, and it's your story. We are all living proof of this incredible journey. Evolution hasn't stopped, by the way. It's still happening, just in ways that are harder to see day to day. But one thing is for sure, the story of humanity is the most incredible epic ever told. Thanks so much for coming on this journey through time with me. If you found this fascinating and want to explore more incredible stories from science and history, be sure to check out our other videos. We dive deep into all sorts of amazing topics just like this one. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you in the next video.